watching us. Hello, anybody out there watching us. If I just did that twice, it's because it just said we're on the air now. So, anyway. Hi, we're talking about the vaginal fantasy pick for this month, which is Blush. And we have many, many feelings. So be prepared for emotional outbursts.
Yeah, that might be a yeah.
Yeah. And if you have any sound problems, it might be because some of us are experiencing lag, so we apologise for that. Okay.
Yeah, I might have to go out and come back in.
All right, go do that now. Probably best time to get it done. So. All right.
Strong feelings about this book.
Very strong feelings.
Very strong feelings.
It's probably good to mention that two of the people here tonight actually do live in Brisbane, where the book is set, which is probably going to reflect some of the fact that there are strong feelings behind this book. But all of us are Australian, which is another thing too. I think it's going to be interesting. I had a lot of high hopes for this book. Ooh. Sorry, that was my phone. All right, Naomi, since you're already having strong feelings, would you like to get started on anything that you would like to talk about, say a bridge?
I feel like even though I didn't hate the story, like the premise of the story was a good idea, but I feel like it was executed poorly, and it could have been written a lot better.
Yep.
Mel, do you want to? Sorry to interrupt. But Mel, do you want to check your headphones? Because I'm getting feedback when Naomi speaks, but I wasn't getting it when you were.
Okay, just a second. Or just unplug them and plug them back in again. Okay, Naomi, would you like to try talking again?
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Is that better?
I'm still getting
I can still hear it. Maybe it's me. Hang on. Okay.
Maybe we're good now? You seem to be good. I can't hear an echo anymore.
No,
okay.
that's better?
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Okay.
But I feel like the three main characters were decently created, and I feel like they could have been fleshed out. I'm trying not to be too harsh on this book, okay? She's an Australian writer, and it's really hard for Australian writers to get out in the general populace, and I felt like it could have been done better, and there were some geographical things that irked me. And also, there are no wooden bridges in Queensland, in Brisbane, that are anywhere over a river that have trains on them. Okay, I said my piece.
Don't stop now!
Oh God! Oh, we're throwing Molotov cocktails. It needs to be a wooden bridge, so it's like daring, and I'm just like, there's no wooden bridges that go over a river that have trains on them anywhere in the Greater Brisbane area. Like anywhere.
I wonder how many times though authors who write a book set in a space go with the theory that really the majority of people who read it aren't going to know the geography of the place well enough to be critical of it. Like, in all honesty, I didn't even think about it that hard.
Oh, I thought about it a lot, and
I feel like it wouldn't have irked me as much if she had said it where it wasn't. Like, if she hadn't have said it was in Brisbane.
So if she just hadn't had that little qualifier at the beginning of the first chapter saying it was Brisbane, and she left it with that very vague, we're on the coast kind of, and it's warm and humid type thing, you would have been good.
Yeah, I would have been fine.
They go to an actual town that's like walking distance from my mother's house. So we'll get to that. Sorry.
The plot thickens and gets worse.
Some of the ways they described where she was living that was in Brisbane, and then how they walked to what they seemed to describe as bush, that didn't seem that far away from Brisbane. I was just, it irked me. They could have just left off the Brisbane tag, like didn't say it was in Brisbane, Queensland, just, called it random names. It would have flowed a lot better, and it would have made me so cranky.
Well, she wouldn't have even had to come up with very many names. It was just the name of that one town, and then everything else, apart from the fact that she said Brisbane, Queensland at the beginning, was actually very vaguely done.
Yeah, basically. Like, there was nothing that sort of gave geographical locations other than her saying that she was in Brisbane.
And she kept saying, I'm getting feedback again. Hang on. I'll try that. She kept saying, like, this many minutes from this and this many minutes from that, and not clarifying, was it walking minutes or riding the dirt bike minutes, or how are they travelling in these minutes that things are away from each other? So it was so vague, because I kept trying to think, where would they be if it was this many minutes drive? But she's like, oh, it was an hour out of Brisbane. Well, an hour how? You know?
Yeah. Because an hour walking isn't that far, but an hour drive is like out near my parents' place, going in one direction. Like, it depends on, and I mean, if you're driving for an hour, you could get to the bush. But if you're walking for an hour from like Brisbane, you won't get to a bushland sort of area. You just won't.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I got the feeling that it was just based on whatever their means of transport was at the time.
Which seemed to be like foot for a lot of it. Like, they seemed to be walking for a lot of it.
I just
At least when they were running. Sorry.
I was just going to say it was a good way to be vague.
Yeah. But I felt like she did that a lot. Like, there was a lot of points. This is moving on from the geography a little bit, so feel free to go back to it. But there was a lot of points during the story where I was like, I remember feeling this way about another vaginal fantasy book, and I was like, wait, I don't feel like I actually understood what just happened. And I'd have to go back and reread like paragraphs just to check that I actually understood what was going on. And it took me a while to sort of go, no, I think it's the way she writes. It's not just me not paying enough attention. I mean, I did read it pretty fast because I panicked yesterday and went, holy shit, the hangout's tomorrow. I need to read this book.
I was skim reading a lot too, so I
It's
think
not exactly a long book either.
No, it wasn't particularly long, but it was long enough that I was doing the same by the second half. I was starting to skim. But it was happening well before that point where I was just like, it usually happens in times of intensity, and I just felt like her descriptions didn't flow so that I felt like I understood what was actually happening clearly.
Yeah.
And you would get to the end of it and you just sort of forgive it and move on. But there was quite a few of those little points in time where I was just like, okay, just move on. Whatever. She's certainly no Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you think about how complex all the things that he had to describe were, and
yet he does it so well. Like action scenes, Brandon Sanderson.
Visualize it perfectly, and he's talking about all this pushing and pulling metal and stuff, and I had no trouble picturing every fight scene in detail. And Rose Bissett was like, what just happened? Hang on, let's look back. I must have missed something there.
Yeah. I'm very glad to know that wasn't just me too then, because...
No, it wasn't just you.
Because to me, I had two major problems. That was one of them. I was just like, her writing style, I just do not feel like it's quite clear what's going on all the time, and particularly in the action scenes. So I was just like, it felt to me like a book that hadn't been edited properly.
Well, I had a bit of a feeling that her editors, because they're American, there was a lot of American spelling of like words throughout it.
Oh, I hadn't noticed that actually. I stopped noticing that sort of stuff.
Well, I suppose we read so many books written by Americans that we sort of get used to just the fact that that's a given.
Maybe that contributed to... Sorry.
No, I was just going to say it sounded very American to me in a lot of ways, but I'll save my thoughts and talk about things a bit later.
Okay. Well, I was going to say that, continuing on with the geography theme and with that, the idea of language, perhaps that's why I was like, this could just as easily be Florida with the descriptions of the humidity and the heat. The thing that I sort of felt like it was missing, if she really wanted to make it feel like Brisbane, was the descriptions of the what's that house? I can't remember the name of the houses up there, but they've got the stilted houses.
Queenslanders.
Sorry, because in Darwin we call them just houses on stilts or stilt houses. So they're not quite the same in Brisbane though. So they're a little bit different. And so they've got their own name. And yeah, I was sort of like, it's Queensland. Couldn't we have a description of at least one Queenslander?
Well, and that was one of the things that made me think it seemed really American. There were two things, and somebody else on the VF forum said it, the same thing. Heaps of guns, which, okay, maybe the people who've survived and are the ones that happen to have guns and everyone else is dead for a reason, but, you know, there was a lot of guns for a place where, especially in the city, there's not a lot of guns. Like, and they weren't in the country, because even when they went and they were in a country town, it wasn't a fucking country town. It was Blackstone, which is a couple of minutes out of Ipswich, which is a city, and it's not. It's like it's a suburb of Ipswich. It's not like a country town in the middle of nowhere. So
the way they described it was this country town in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, you can't just walk somewhere in the short amount of time that you walked where you would be in the middle of nowhere. Like,
no,
there is no possible...
I'll show you. If you Google Blackstone and look it up on Google Maps and have a look, my mum lives in Raceview, and she lives in a retirement village that has like hundreds of units in it in Raceview. And if you look where they are, they're next to each other on Google Maps. But I'll talk about Blackstone a little bit more. Being from Ipswich, I know a little bit more. But yeah, so there was the gun thing, and I was like, yeah, people in the city, it would have been hard for them to get that many guns.
Especially
the other
there
thing
seems to be a lot of like automatic guns floating about.
Yeah. Not just like, okay, a rifle or a shotgun or whatever, which you could probably have, but yeah, guns that you know be kind of few and far between. So there was that.
Blackstone's completely residential.
I know. That's what I was trying to say. I'm going to get into Blackstone in a minute, but anyway.
Yeah, sorry.
The attic. She's hiding in an attic. Now, I don't know how many houses in Queensland have got attics, but it wouldn't be very many. Like, there are not a lot of houses with attics. We have crawl spaces, but it's not really an attic. And it's, you know, you couldn't really hide up there, especially in Queensland summer, and you'd die.
Yeah, you would die.
That was the thing I was considering. I was like, it's really super hot and humid. How is she even alive?
Yeah, because she was just surviving up there. Like, it wasn't that she was coming down during the day and hiding up there at night. She was just living up there. You would boil alive because you're above the insulation.
Well, you just wouldn't be able to keep the moisture up that you would need to survive in that sort of environment.
There's no way you would be able to keep the moisture up that you'd need to be able to survive up there. Like, absolutely none.
Exactly. Yeah. So, those were the two things that I went, and then there was a few language things that I should have brought my Kindle out. I might go and get it later. I highlighted a few things that annoyed me. But yeah, one of them was the attic. I'm like, we don't really have attics. And she should know that if she's from Queensland, but I kind of got the impression that she was gearing towards an American audience and writing for an American audience. There was a couple of words that she used that I went, we don't say that in Australia.
No.
Yeah.
And I wondered whether she was trying to write so that, because America would be a broader audience. It's an ebook that's available online.
Then why set it in Brisbane? Like.
Well, yeah, I know.
Well,
and then there was a few other things that the characters said that I went, oh, that's really Aussie, and I wonder whether. Yeah, it was weird.
Perhaps it came down to her editor, though. Maybe she did use the Australian terms at the time, and she wrote it, and the editor corrected it. Because if it was published by an American, they do that sort of thing over there. We know that from the Philosopher's Stone, right?
Yeah. Well, she lives on the north side of Brisbane. Like, I went to her website and it says she's based out of the north side of Brisbane. So that's where she lives. So that's why it irked me so much. Afterwards, I was like...
Know very well. She probably just picked it out of a map and went, oh yeah, Ipswich is country. And it's like, yeah, you actually have quite a few people.
Well,
How can you live in Brisbane and not know that, though?
It's not in a city, Brisbane, but it's still a large suburb. Like, it's not a city with skyscrapers and stuff, but it's still a very large suburb with lots of housing and lots of like residential and shopping and all that sort of stuff. Just because it doesn't have
a city.
yeah,
Ipswich is a city, not a suburb. So it's its own city, and and
what I
Blackstone
mean
is a suburb
is
of Ipswich.
what I mean is that it's not like huge skyscrapers and that sort of stuff. It's not a
No.
but it's still a very dense city. Like there's still a lot. There's high
residential buildings everywhere. It's not like you can see for miles clear without anything in the way. You know?
It's not like people live on 5 acres of land. You know what I mean? Like
No.
it's not like you could be at a house and have to run for a minute or two to get to the next house. Like houses are probably maybe 2 or 3 meters apart. Like usually people are fairly close to their fences.
Well, not only that, like even just the way, like Blackstone itself, we've run out of housing with 100 people. I'm like, now that you've told me where they are, that's really not dubious to me.
Well, have a look at the Google Street View. Like it's kind of like they've got some housing areas that are really dense, and then there's other spots where it's kind of not much there, and there's like industrially kind of places. But it kind of made it sound like, one of those older type, like, country towns. Like, it made me think of Blackbutt, where my dad lives, where there's, one main street, and, it's a big avenue, there's a really wide street, and there's not much else. Whereas
that's what I was picturing.
There's not even a street called Main Street in Blackstone, and it doesn't have, like they've mentioned jacarandas all down the middle of the street, and I've looked on Street View and it doesn't have that. They talked about a church with stained glass windows and everything. I'll send you a link. This is the church in Blackstone because I googled it.
That was the other thing. Like she was like, "There's a church and it's walking distance to the police station." I'm like, that sounds like a very small country town. I feel like there is no human, like I didn't know what Blackstone looked like, but there is no human possible way you could walk from Brisbane, no matter where you are in the Brisbane sort of area, like north side, south side, you couldn't walk in the short amount of time that they were walking together to a small country town like that.
There is no police station in Blackstone either. Your Mancho's the closest one. Sorry.
The other thing I can think of is perhaps she did use something like, what was the town you mentioned that your dad lived in? Blackstone?
Blackbutt. But that's like that's sort of a bit more than 2 hours drive from where I live. So it doesn't sort of fit with how long they travelled in the book. And it's over ranges and everything, and
But the only other thing I could think of is that she'd used that, and the name was something that the editors didn't like because it was too Australian or something, and so they picked another place with a similar name. It's the only other thing I can think of. But because the other issue behind being in Blackstone is that if it is all buildings, how do you section that off so nobody can get in?
Well, and it's a biggish area with sort of sparse, like I mean, there's some sections where there's heaps of houses together and others that are more sparse, but it's like. Yeah, you'd have to have a lot of trucks. Like they talked about trucks and things. To be honest, and this is really maybe a bit mean, but it sounds to me like she pictured that place, and I don't know if you guys have watched The Walking Dead, but she pictured that town in The Walking Dead in her head and then wrote it like that and then gave it a name of a suburb in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that is exactly, in the way she's described it, is exactly what it looked like. I've only seen the show, I haven't read the comics, but that town in The Walking Dead where they had all the barrier up and everything and people were living in this town, that was exactly how it looked in my head. That's the way she was describing this place.
The other thing that irked me a bit was Dan went swimming in what I can only assume is the Brisbane River. How he didn't get deathly ill from swimming in something as disgusting as the Brisbane River is beyond me.
Or eaten by a bull shark.
Yes, or eaten by a bull shark. Like, I don't. He got beaten up by, like, stuff. I just...
Maybe it's the apocalypse has happened long ago enough that, it's just not as gross, I don't know.
Not as gross as it is now.
It's not as bad as it.
Oh, and that's how she got her wooden bridge. Dear God.
Yeah.
Like she was. It was obvious that she wanted there to be some sort of tension. So she wanted them to be able to throw a Molotov cocktail and for it to have an effect.
Mm.
Yeah, and I was
Set it up.
that was the other thing too, because it was on a train line.
Yeah.
That narrows down. That really narrows down the places that you can be. And so she's talking about how far they are from the city, and she's talking about the train. And I'm trying to think. Well, I know you're talking about the Ipswich line because she said southwest, and there's no other line that you could be talking about if you're traveling southwest.
So
Mhm.
I mean,
And
the
I'm
bridge would
looking,
have
and I'm
like,
thinking,
Sherwood Bridge, like Intrapilli Bridge. Like that's the only train bridge like there. It's sort
well,
of
yeah,
out
the next
towards
one.
Ipswich.
The next one after that is past Blackstone, and it's, I did look it up because I was like, I couldn't remember because I always got off at Red Bank, so I can never remember any past that. But I think it was near Evervale. There's a bridge, but I mean,
I mean, for her to say that she's in Brisbane, she would have had to say, like, they would have had to be somewhere around the Indooroopilly area. If she's crossing
Yeah.
a bridge to go to, like, over the river to go towards the Ipswich direction, she would have to
Yeah.
be Indooroopilly, sort of Sherwood area. Like, that's where they would
Yeah.
have to be.
Well, the only place that crosses the river is there at Indooroopilly.
And
I
that
think it was
bridge is
the
not
bit that-
wooden.
I think it was the bit that it was the bridge had a train on it that really threw me. I was like, a wooden bridge with a train? Like, I could believe that there's probably a wooden bridge somewhere that's a footbridge or something along those lines.
But
that
not a
maybe-
train bridge.
A train
Yeah.
bridge is...
Also, there's a train bridge, and then the road bridge that is like made out of giant stone and stuff is not far away. So how the metal bridge would have not been destroyed and the stone huge bridge would have been, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going on and on about the geographical stuff that was really irking me, and there was other things in the book that irked me as well. So if we can continue on with something that's not geographical issues.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah.
I think we talk about the geographical stuff first, because once we start talking about the other stuff, that's going to be a can of worms.
To be fair, the geographical stuff is probably not something that will bother pretty much anybody else. So
Yeah.
Unless you're living in or have lived in Brisbane, it probably won't bother you so much. Like, even if you live in Australia, you may not know how far away it is to walk to somewhere that could be pictured as a small country town from Brisbane. Like,
look, I didn't question it that hard. Like, I was like, it doesn't seem like you've travelled far enough to me, but I didn't question it that hard. The only thing that made me question that we've discussed here is the wooden bridge, and that wasn't because they don't exist, but because I just found it hard to believe that in Australia a wooden bridge would
have a
take
train.
trains.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the other geographical things that irked me a bit was Nick said he was from the Northern Beaches, which I assume are the Northern Beaches of Sydney.
Yeah, that's what I assumed he meant. Yeah.
At the start of the book, it's only been 53 days since the start of the apocalypse. You couldn't have walked from the Northern Beaches of Sydney to Brisbane in 53
Didn't
days.
he have a bike though? I thought he had a motorbike.
Oh, did he have a motorbike? Okay,
Yeah.
that makes a lot more sense. It's all right. It was irking me a lot. I'm like, how did you walk that far, dude? There is no way you walked that far in that short amount of time. Like, it's not possible. You could do it eventually, but not in 53 days.
No. Well, I mean, maybe you could if you were super fit, but wouldn't be a comfortable walk, that's for sure. All right. I'm going to bring out my other thing that really bothered me, because we may as well open the can of worms. Because this book's major problem in my mindset was actually the reaction of the guys every time they frickin' met this woman.
Yeah, well, not just that, but yeah.
No, but like that whole sort of situation, like the instant hard-ons, the hard-ons through terrifying situations, the constant thinking about the hard-ons, and then the whole treating of women, and just her capitulation to all of it as well. But there's many things that were issues around all of this.
Not to put a
Let's
finer
start
point
with
on it.
the first scene where they meet each other. That might be a good place to start.
All right. Dan and Allie meeting each other. First scene. She's holding a gun on him because she's scared, rightfully so under the situation. And he wants to build trust with her. And his decision about how to make this happen is to take the frigging gun away from her.
Not just that, grab onto her and not let go, and then get like, what is wrong with you? Why are you panicking that I'm holding you and getting a hard on and that you can feel while I'm holding you and not letting you go?
Mm-hmm.
And why are you panicking? What's wrong with you, crazy woman? Why are you so scared of me?
I know.
I'm a nice dude.
It's only been 53 days since the start of the apocalypse, so it's only been maybe 2 months since you had a girlfriend, dude. Like, can you really not last that long? Like,
oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
the other dude in particular was explicit about that. I was just like,
It's like, dude, if it had been like 5 years, maybe I could understand you're like, oh my God, it's a woman and it's the first one I've seen. But it's been 53 days. Suck it up, princess.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't have that reaction to a woman to just
felt
be
like
holding her. Like,
I think it was the description of it constantly being a raging boner sort of type situation as well. It wasn't just a stirring or something along those lines. No, he was in full-on boner mode every time, and it's
all
like
the time.
I'm pretty sure
He
it
must have had a
doesn't.
pretty serious case of blue balls by the end of that, because
Yeah, like all the time. Oh, I'm so hard. Oh, you're so attractive. I'm so hard. All
Yes.
hard.
But he was not even. He was also kind of grabby at her ass and her boobs and stuff when he was trying to hold her to stop her from running away from him. And I'm like, she's running away from him for a good reason. And then she disappointed me by kind of being like, oh, all right then.
Second night with him, and she's sleeping with him and quite happy and feeling love stirrings.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if you want someone to trust you, don't be grabbing at their personal areas. Like, maybe, okay, yeah, she's panicking and you don't want her to run out into the zombies, but, like, grab her around her stomach. That's a very neutral area, and that will stop her from running out where the zombies are, and then you let her go.
And maybe not have a hard on at the time that she can feel.
Yeah, maybe
because
don't have a hard on.
that might give you the wrong
impression.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why might she think that he's trying to rape her? Where is she getting that idea from?
Possibly. But at the same time, like the capitulation behind it all as well. I just feel like maybe just a lot of these sections moved really fast because she didn't want to write a long book.
But there's a second book.
But they could have done like the Fade to Black thing and gone, okay, you know, they've been, you know, it had been 2 weeks and they'd been living together, you know, and she slowly had begun to trust him. Like, you could write it in a way that made it be not 2 days later that she's suddenly in love with him and sleeping with him and he's calling her his. That was my other thing.
That's true. I mean, you look at the first Anna Green Gables books. That's really short, and it's 4 years.
Like, there would have been a way for her to just write, like, and they've been staying at this house for a week or whatever. To you know, signify some sort of time passing without having to expressly say everything that's happened in that week. Like, if we get back from after a week or two of time and they're closer, we can sort of get the assumption that they've gained some trust and they're getting along with one another. Like, that's something that your readers should be able to infer. Like, you don't need to explicitly say that they're starting to fall in love. It's over a period of time.
And then how many days later was it that the other guy showed up?
Like a day or two?
The next day. Like, they heard the bike on the first night of when he came into the area, and he was following them from the first day when they left.
Because it's like he was the first guy went, oh, well, this guy hasn't had a woman in a while either. Well, you better sleep with him too, because otherwise he won't want to protect you. And and I'm going, what?
Yeah.
And I had to go back and check that the book was written by a woman, because I'm like, how could a woman have written something so misogynistic This sounds like it was written by a man.
It really did. I felt like I was watching porn.
Yes.
That's what I read a lot of like erotica books, right? And they have never been quite as misogynistic as this one was.
I've read free porn on the internet that was less misogynistic than this.
Yeah, like a lot of fanfic is less misogynistic than this. It was just very like the moment that Nick saw her, he was like, "She's mine. I would protect her better." I'm like, how do you know? Like, just because people are having a conversation does not mean that he's not protecting her.
Yeah.
And she was just kind of like, you know, oh no, I don't really like that idea. And then her boyfriend was like, oh no, you really should sleep with him because he won't want to stay. If you don't fuck him, he won't stay and look after you. And she's like, oh, all right then. And so she does. And I'm going.
I love that they've all magically got condoms too. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that was another thing that
in their backpack of goodies, they've got condoms.
Yeah.
Like, that was the
I
thing.
can only take this one backpack full of stuff with me. And, you know, I'm going to make sure I've got at least half a dozen condoms in there. That's important.
But I tell you what, I reckon the VF ladies are going to love all of the sex bits because not only did they have condoms, which would have been around at least, so yeah, good, but also they were washing themselves.
Yes, I did. That was one. Okay, if I'm going to pick some things that I thought were good, the realistic aspects of the sex part, like, you know, like they get up and go, I got to get a towel now, or whatever, and it's like, okay, yeah, they've made it realistic in that way, but it doesn't make up for the other shit. And let's not even, you know, do we want to talk about how it's like, okay, so how many days now has it been? What a week? And she's talking about, okay, well, we don't need the condoms anymore because I'm going to have a baby in a crazy post-apocalyptic time where there's no doctors or anything. Like, oh, yes, but, you know, let's just, all of us have sex so we don't know who the father is and we can all bring the baby up together.
Yay! Well, look, you know what? I must admit, I really was, like, the first half of it with, probably a little more than that, but the first part of it with the relationship between the three of them, I was just like, this is stupid. This is just utterly stupid. But at least by the time where they were starting to get into the town and they were starting to deal with it as... Actually, the funny thing is I enjoyed the two guys' relationship more than I enjoyed their relationship with her. But just the way he was sort of helping them, Dan was helping them along and to sort things out and stuff, I was just like, if you're going to do it, that's kind of the kind of stuff that would probably need to happen, right? So I would like...
As
I would
unrealistic
like to see
as
some
it all
attraction between the two guys. If you're going to have a three-way relationship, I would have liked to see some kind of attraction between the two guys. I think that would have made it much more interesting.
That would have made the book A+ in my book.
Well, when she raised that side, when he was presenting the idea to her, I was just like, yes, oh, fuck, he's using it as an example. It's not real. That's the one thing that would have made it all okay.
Yeah, like he brought it up, and Dan brought it up, and he was like, yeah, I'd be okay with it if that's what he wanted. And I'm like, can we have that? Can we have that? That would make the book great, please. And then it was like, no, because, it's just an example, and no, they both like girls, and boring. But
like, I felt like traditional polyamory, with a triad like this, they would definitely be fine with being friends with each other, but they wouldn't really have sex with each other, from what I understand. Now, I don't understand if that's technically in the monogamy, which is really more of a porn thing, from what I understand.
Some polyamorous relationships would have all three altogether. It would just depend on the people that were involved. Like, some polyamory situations are just people who are in relationships with one another, and some are people who are relationships in a triangle or in a square even. Like, they were all in a relationship together.
It wasn't really a triangle. That was the thing. No. I needed the dot between the two guys to be connected for that, to get that situation to work for me. But I did think perhaps by the end they were starting to get in that direction, maybe. A little bit.
Yeah, but the next book isn't even about them. which made me sad.
No, it's not.
Because I read the
Well, I
first
know,
chapter
I
of
didn't
the next
really want
book,
Yeah.
and
Was it
it's
bad?
based in, you know, the bad guy at the end of the book, one of them that gets sent away, Nicholas,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
it's about him and him purchasing a woman to protect a town out at Stanthorpe.
Oh, it's in Stanthorpe. Yeah, that's right. I saw that it was set in Stanthorpe, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Oh, shit.
He finds a group of people who are hiding out in a school, and he tells them that he wants a woman to give them food and protection. It's not disgusting at all.
No, of course not. I must admit, I have absolutely no desire to read any more of this woman's books.
No, I
No,
was
me
curious
neither.
because I thought if it was like developing the relationship between the three of them, it may have been interesting to see where it went. But when I saw that there was, mostly because I thought it would make really good porn. That was mostly why I looked at
that
it.
was the thing. I was fine with it being not well written. Like I was like, I don't care if it's badly written. If it's got some really good, sexy book parts and it's a nice, quick read, it's something I can read in a couple of days. Have a bit of fun with it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because it was so sexist, I couldn't enjoy the other bits as much because it was pissing me off so much that it was so sexist.
Yeah, I couldn't enjoy the sex at all. The only way she could counterbalance all of that is she gave me some male on male porn.
That was why I was hoping the second book was going to be about them and the relationship between Dan and Nick. Yeah, that was what I was hoping for, but no.
Yeah.
No joy.
No joy. Oh, dear.
But
Yeah, someone. Sorry.
that's right.
I was just going to say, someone else on the forum mentioned as well about the main woman in the, what was her name, Ali.
Ali, yeah.
I kept forgetting that she was as old as she is, because she's
Yes.
like in her late 20s, and she's acting like a 15-year-old in most of it. Like,
Oh, I
she
thought she
didn't
was in like her
act as
mid
though-
to late 30s.
or maybe she was. I know. Oh, maybe it was him. Maybe it was the younger guy that was in his late 20s. But she
Yeah, it
was a
was
lot
the younger
older
guy.
than what she was acting. Like, she was acting like a teenager in most of it. And maybe I would have been more forgiving of her accepting being told what to do by these two guys if she had have actually been a teenager, because you would think, well, if I was, 16, 17 and there were these older men that were looking after me, I might have been more willing to listen to them, I guess. But at the age that she was written as, I'm like, why are you just going, oh, okay, oh, you think I should sleep with this guy? All right, then.
Yeah. By the way, it wasn't Nick, it was Finn. I was
Finn,
like,
that's his name. I was
Yeah.
like, I know it's like a dude bro name.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Like, in terms of, when I first started reading it and then it said she was 31 or something, I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that. And I was actually freaked out when the guy had said he was 40-something, and I was just like, whoa, teenage girl, no, not okay.
Yeah, I pictured her as like maybe 18. Like, when she was
Because
like
that's how
talking about hiding in the roof and
Yeah.
like rabbiting away, I'm like, hasn't
Yes, the rabbiting. Oh my God, the rabbiting.
all the time. Oh, I'm rabbiting. Oh.
At least if she'd used the rabbiting only when she was scared, it would have been okay. But no, the rabbiting happened when she was sexually excited as well, and I was just like,
Well, they say that rabbits,
yeah. But yeah, I definitely agree about the age thing. She just did not seem the age that she was presented as. I was just like, But I did think that perhaps you could explain away some of her, I wouldn't say submissive activity, but less, I don't know, lack of strength from her history. Like the whole thing with her boyfriend getting together with her sister, I was like, yeah, that would probably
Yeah.
I mean, that would not make you severely that would make you very untrusting towards any of the male folk in any situation. Like,
And when that whole thing with Finn flirting with Aaron happened, I was like, woman, tell him what happened to you. Please. That's how somebody understands that you've got a problem. You tell them what happened to you.
that's how it works in adult situations. You have an adult conversation about what's going on. You
Yeah,
don't just
That's a
run away or make them leave.
that's a common trope in many TV shows and books, and it's like if you just told them the truth, this would stop all these problems. And I've gotten used to that not actually happening because
Yeah,
there
no
would be
one actually
no
tells
plot
the
of
truth.
half the movies that I've seen if people didn't just tell them the truth, it would solve
to
all
be
their
fair,
problems.
though, she didn't tell him the truth. She did tell him what she needed, and he did give that to her. So, in a lot of respects, the problem was still cleared up. It could have been drawn out as an ongoing issue, but it really wasn't. And it's just that I was sort of like, people don't just say this is what they need. They usually explain the why when they do it.
Mm.
Maybe they felt like they didn't need the why so much because the whys of the world were there are zombies everywhere trying to kill us all. Maybe just live with the what we've got kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, actually, talking about zombies, one thing that I did like about this book was that the zombies were not the threat, really.
No.
It was other people that were, and I think, in Walking Dead, I find that that's the same thing. Like, the zombies are scary, but it's the other people that are scarier. And I did like that. The zombies were almost a secondary thing that was kind of more of an annoyance.
They're more of an environmental threat rather than the actual thing that's actively working against you.
Yeah, which I liked because, otherwise it gets a bit dull.
Well, I think it's better because zombies, to me, like zombies are scary. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, like the zombies, the way they're written in these, it's like, yeah, you can get away from them. Yeah, you can barricade them out. There's ways to deal with it, so it's not so immediate threat-like. But post-apocalyptic world ending, people are shit kind of thing makes more sense.
yeah, like I feel like a lot of the time in zombie sort of movies and stuff, the problem isn't the zombies so much as it is the world goes to shit and then people who are inherently shitty just become more shitty.
And they seem to be the ones that survive. Like if you're a horrible person, then you're willing to do horrible things that help you to survive, and there's a lot of those people left.
Maybe some of the guns came from like the military bases, because there is a military base out near Ipswich, isn't there?
There's one at Amberley, which is
Amberley.
General Direction. That's the air base at Amberley. But there's also the Enoggera Barracks, which I can't remember exactly where that is in relation to Brisbane. But
that's more north Brisbane rather than
I
west.
thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was.
The other one's Greenbank, which is like way out south.
Oh yeah. No, Greenbank is like right down the road from where I live.
Okay, so it's
Greenbank, the Greenbank military range is like really big. If you look it up on Google Maps, and it's right near my house. Like I could walk there from my house to the Greenbank military range, but it's a huge area of land. Sometimes you hear them doing the guns and stuff going on there.
Sorry, my aunt lives on the other side of it at Greenbank. Like she lives, there's 2 houses between her and the Greenbank military range, but she's obviously the other side of it because it's huge. It spans a ginormous area.
It's really, really huge. Yeah.
To me, the thing wasn't so much that they had guns, but the ammunition. Like, there's guns in Australia, but because people don't shoot that often, there's not just massive amounts of ammunition sitting around.
No, there's not. Like, you wouldn't be able to go out scavenging for military, for guns and ammo and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Like
it's
ordinary people
the few
have
places
it in their house.
the few places that would have had it, like the gun shops and stuff along those lines, they would have been scavenged right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And there wouldn't be much left, at the end. Although it did, when Finn killed those guys, he did take their gun, or at least one of them, and gave it to Ali.
Yeah.
True. But that's why I think I had less problems envisioning there being guns around, because as people die, people pick up the guns and things like that. It was the ammunition. And the fact that you need specific ammunition for specific guns. It's not like you just go out and, get a box of bullets and it's like, oh, these will work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bullets are not universal.
And, how about a few arrows and things like that? Like, come on, some archery.
Well, that's more likely to be around. You're more likely to have someone that's got a bow and arrow from doing archery as a sport, then you're likely to have someone with it.
And even the Molotov cocktails, like that far in, there wouldn't be that much alcohol left. We're Australians. We drink it. We're not going to throw that shit away.
Especially not to the extent that they were doing it. They were hugely throwing it away.
They were just throwing it here, there, and everywhere. I'm like,
but it could have been kerosene or something instead of like put into a bottle instead of drinking alcohol. It could have been petrol or something else.
Or cleaning alcohol or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. In a certain post-apocalyptic circumstances, you want to keep that shit for drinking.
Or wounds, like if you scratch yourself on a nail or, you know, something that's not a zombie bite in a zombie apocalypse, you will need alcohol to clean wounds. Like even drinking alcohol is better than nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. I always laugh in the Outlander books, and she's always like cleaning stuff with alcohol, and they're looking at her like she's insane. She's like, throw me on it. They're like, why are you tipping that whiskey, that good whiskey, all over your, surgical equipment? You're wasting the whiskey. No, really, I'm doing this for a reason.
No, this is very important. Please don't talk to me about wasting whiskey.
Oh well. Look, to be fair, in the end, I didn't feel like it was a completely empty world, at least. So, sorry, I listened to the Sword and Laser podcast today, and they were talking about Updraft, which I hated, and they were talking about how much they love the world building, and I'm like, at least this world felt like it was a world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it
had its faults, but it wasn't completely ridiculous.
Although, to be fair, really, does it count as world building when you take I suppose she didn't really take a place that already existed because it wasn't anything like the place. Do you know what I mean? Like, she didn't have to create a whole system of
it wasn't like she was creating a
set in the real world
or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was a human-based, non-magical world that just happened to have zombies, which seemed to be.
Updraft is not magical. It's they live in bone structures that grow. It's like what?
I never read that one, and maybe that's not a bad. I downloaded the next Sword and Laser book because it was free, and I figured even if I don't like it, it's not cost me anything because it's free completely on Kindle. So maybe I'll read that one, but I didn't read Updraft.
Updraft look, lots of people seem to love it. It's won awards and things like that. I couldn't get through the first, I think, 5 chapters. I hated the main character. I hated the secondary character. I didn't like anybody. And the world building, and the world building was just shit ass. And I was just like, I'm done. It's a library book. I don't need to read this. Nobody else is. Whatever.
Yeah.
So I pretty much, when Sword and Laser picked it, I howled because I was like, why? Sorry.
No, that's all right. When I started reading it, I started getting vibes about, the misogynistic, oh my god, I feel a boner in my ass. And I was like, I think to be able to get through this and enjoy the porn part of it, I'm going to have to just ignore the rest of it. Like, I'm just going to have to understand that she wrote this really poorly, and it's just, I'm reading it for the porn parts, and that's it. I'm not reading it for the world building, I'm not reading it for the characters, I just have to read it for the porn because everything else is going to make me really angry while I'm reading it.
I figured that...
Sorry.
I was just going to say, if 50 Shades of Grey is like Twilight fanfic, this reads like a corny Walking Dead fanfic.
It might be.
Hey, you did say it sounded rather similar in terms of the description of the town. To me, because I don't know Walking Dead, so to me it didn't read as fanfic because I just felt like it was. To me, it was like reading, I don't know if you guys remember, but years ago they used to have these black lace erotica type books that they sold in the shops. And it read like one of those to me. I was just like, there's a story, but really it's just plot for porn.
Yeah, that's all right. It reminded me of like a porn story that you would read online. and that was kind of how I read it, like skim reading and then reading, going, okay, when's the next sex scene going to be? Because
Yes.
Just skim,
'Cause
skim,
in
skim,
actual
skim,
fact,
ooh, sexy time.
where's the-
In
Yeah.
actual fact, I felt like it was lacking the sex to be fully porn with plot.
yeah,
I was like, there needs to be a little bit more if this is going to be a porn story. Sex it up,
Yeah.
people.
There needs to be more porn in my porn book and less
Yeah.
plot, please.
Yes.
Because the plot is not really the good part of the book. The
No.
porn is.
I'm skipping the plotty bits. I was like, I literally actually did like a search. I was just like, I typed in a keyword and I was like, how much sex is in this book?
Sometimes the sex was described strangely. Like it was.
yeah. I
Like-
was gonna.
How do I.
I felt like the rest of the book had a lot of her perspective in it,
Mhm.
and the sex scenes had a lot of the guy's perspective and not as much of her perspective, which was kind of weird.
Yeah, for a female writing it.
Yeah, because you would have thought as a female writer you would write the sex from the female's point of view because that's what you're used to. Like, you're not really used to being the one with the penis.
In all honesty, I felt like it wasn't even just the sex, it was just generally any sort of attraction as well. Like, I didn't feel like we spent much time with her thinking about how attractive they were or anything on those lines. It was her expressing her interest in them and them listening to it and them feeling their boners all the time. Boner. Ooh, but my boner.
Yeah, it wasn't like throughout the book she was like, oh, his ass is so sexy and I can feel myself getting so turned on right now. Like, it was all
Yeah.
about the men being turned on and her being receptive to it and not actually being turned on from their presence.
Yes. Yes. There's a lot
See,
of
I
that.
tuned all this out, so I enjoyed the sex. How dare you
Yes.
make me think about it?
Sorry. But like, in all
fine.
respects, that's exactly it, because it's not even like she was ever actually ready until they expressed an interest in sex and then suddenly she's wet.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's a weird thing that she's experienced, but I've never experienced just suddenly being wet when a guy's like, I'm into you, baby.
I don't think guys do either. Like, the way they're describing them getting hard like that, I was just like, I'm pretty sure guys don't, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but my limited experience, genuinely, I don't think guys get full erections without some stimulation other than just the immediate visuals.
Well, and especially in that kind of situation, like maybe from a visual, I'm pretty sure they came straight from a visual. But
like,
when
not
you're getting shot at,
instantaneous.
and when you're getting shot at, like,
Yeah.
would
I mean-
you keep it then, or would you be focused on something else right then?
Ooh.
He's 40 or 40 odd years old. Like, at 40 to 45, whatever he is years old, he shouldn't be getting a boner like a teenager.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what it was.
Mm.
They were both getting boners like teenagers. Like, ooh, look at that ass, man. Boner.
With less than 2 months without sex.
Yes.
Yeah.
53 days
like, well,
without
I
sex.
feel sorry for her when she has a baby then, because like, sorry, sometimes there might be a bit of a break in that department.
Oh, actually, I was kind of half waiting for them.
Uncomfortable places, like 2 months isn't that long.
I was kind of half waiting for them to invite Erin in so that they could become a quad.
I was expecting that.
Cool, wasn't just me then.
I was surprised when that didn't happen. Especially because the reason that Dan was like, yeah, you should sleep with him too, was like, oh, he kind of felt sorry for him that he didn't have a woman, and like, I know what it's like to be all by yourself, and it's like then this other woman comes along that he's obviously interested in, and
Less than 2 months.
yeah,
Oh, anyway,
I'm sorry, but this just says really bad things about men in general. Like, you can't last like
It does.
that short a period of time without turning into a teenager that gets a boner every time you look at a pair of tits or an ass.
yeah. Actually, that's a good point.
Not only that, just like even the lack of respect the guys have for her skittishness. It doesn't say very much for their ability to understand why she might be skittish and how you might treat those circumstances. To be fair, though, I think Finn did better than Dan did.
I think so. Yeah.
Although mostly only because Dan was already there.
Yes. I think Finn had to do better because he had to compete with Dan.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
Finn couldn't just be like, but I'm here and I'm protecting you with my strong, sexy body, baby.
You're so pretty. Look at my hair and blonde.
Like, oh, I'm going to take my shirt off now and wash these washboard abs with a piece of soap that's really old because it's been 2 months and, like, you know, the soap would dry out that quickly.
I must have skimmed past the fact that it was only 2 months because I did not remember that, and I kind of assumed that it had been like a few years that the apocalypse had been going on for. I must have not paid attention to that, or I'd read it at the beginning and then forgot about it because the way it was written, it's been like the world's gone to shit in a very
short period of time.
Yeah.
I read the 53 days. I didn't read the Brisbane, Queensland. And I was like, where's the Brisbane bit? So
I'm only making a point of it because I looked back at it today and went, holy fuck, this was only 53 days post the start of the apocalypse.
Look, and they're even talking about, there's not, the zombies are starting to die out because there's no more people to eat. Like, really? Would they have run out of people in that short amount of time?
Well, Finn was saying that they were bombing. Well, yeah, Finn was saying that they bombed a whole bunch of Sydney and a bunch of, like, regular, like, civilians got killed, which would be how the zombies are.
They're trying to do an outbreak-style thing to get rid of the plague, essentially.
Mm. But, I mean, if it was created in China, how did it get to Australia so quickly?
Well, I don't understand how it's spreading so fast in the first place. I mean, really.
Yeah, like if
you had to be bitten to catch it.
Yeah, and look how like you look at the ending and how fast Santa was changing, right? So it's not like you can just get on a flight, be bitten in Sydney, get on a flight and get to Brisbane to transfer it. No, they have to actually travel.
Well, someone would have had to get on a plane from China because that's where it was created and released. Yep. On a plane, and then would have had to survive the plane, gotten over to wherever he landed, and then started infecting people. Because if he started biting people on the plane, wouldn't they have gotten through to the pilot and crashed the plane?
Yeah.
Just the logic behind that side of it just doesn't seem to work, that's for sure.
I don't think I thought about that too much, but yeah.
No, I didn't until now, really.
No,
I mean, I was thinking I would like to know more details about how on this earth all of this had happened, but I was like, porn without plot.
Porn with plot, yeah.
Plot. It's with plot. Unfortunately, it's not porn without plot, which is what really would have been better if it had been.
Yeah. I only started getting really angry about it when I looked and saw it was 53 days, and then I was going through everything that I'd read and being like, but it's only 53 days. It's only 53 days. It's only 53 freaking days. It just makes me angry on the inside.
No, see, I just spend all my time being angry at these douche guys. So
I was angry at her too because she just kind of went along with it, and
so I should say the general misogyny, whether it came from the guys or the girls, it didn't matter. I just didn't like any of it. So.
And I think it's a good point that it was actually not just sexist towards women, but it was pretty sexist towards men as well, to make it like men are, so after 2 months of no sex have got to turn into sex-crazed maniacs. And really, that's every man that was in it. They were either the good sex-crazed maniacs that, talked her into having sex with them, or the ones that were trying to rape her, and that was pretty much all the men in the story.
Yeah,
so
there was no man that was just like, hey, you want some protection? I want some protection. We should be together and protect each other. Like, there was none of that.
Like, I think that's what kills me is because, in fact, like you said, this actually could have been a really good story. The premise is actually quite good.
Yeah.
And if they'd just written it in a more respectful way towards how people were interacting with each other, pretty much all of the major plot points I would have been quite good with. I liked the development. I liked that where they they took it apart from the geographical issues. That's a whole other problem. But like, I even liked the pacing for a lot of respects. If they just sort of made it so that actually that pacing was broken up with 2 weeks, like you were saying, fade to black,
and it wasn't like 2 days later and he's calling her his girl all the time, and you know, talking about what, a week of knowing each other, talking about having a baby, and not just talking about having a baby within knowing someone for a week, but in a situation where it's like, do you want to be bringing a child into this world where you're not even safe?
Yeah,
maybe like, wait a month to make sure things settle down.
Yeah, like, wouldn't you want to make sure that the child that you're going to create is going to actually be safe? Like, your town was just attacked, not by zombies, but by someone on the inside that decided he just wanted a girl. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
Well, I just don't.
No. Yeah. Anyway, as we know, it was porn with plot.
It was porn with bad plot, though.
Very bad plot. But good concept. That's the thing that I think that's what most upsets me. Because I'm like, I want to give this 1 star, but I can't, because actually in the end it actually had a fairly decent concept, and I just wanted her to develop it better.
Yeah, I gave it 2, and I thought, like, I couldn't give it 1 because I didn't hate it. There are a lot of things that annoyed me about it, but I didn't hate it. And really, I only give 1 star to things that I totally hated.
Like Updraft.
Wuthering Heights. I gave Wuthering Heights 1 star. And it's like, and I can separate I can say Wuthering Heights, the writing of, you know, it is a much better written book, and I can see why it's a classic, but I hate it. So it gets 1 star. Like,
interestingly enough, I feel like books that are written poorly like this one, I'm actually less likely to give 1 star and be more generous with than like really good classics like that people love, and I'm like, why? It's stupid.
Yeah, I feel like a book where it is what it is. It knows that it's a B grade porn with plot. Like, it knows what it is. She doesn't try and pretend that she's some classic novel sort of person. Like,
I think it's like when Matt goes, it was one of the, what was it, G.I. Joe movie or something. It was some movie that he went to, and I was like, oh, it's not something I'm going to see. And he was like, I realise it's going to be just explosions and stupidness, but I feel like I want to watch something with explosions and stupidness, and so that's why, you know, like, he knew what he was getting into, but he enjoyed it because that was what he was looking for.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
It wasn't like he was expecting to see an Oscar-winning movie and got explosions and stupid stuff. So it's probably a bit like that.
I'm just looking up, because the reason I actually was like, yeah, let's do this book, was because the very first review that's on Goodreads is actually a 5-star review.
There are heaps. I looked on Goodreads, and after I finished it, I was thinking, oh, there are going to be heaps of scathing reviews on Goodreads for this. And I had to scroll down quite a long way before I found a 2-star one. There were a lot of fairly good reviews. And I'm like, is there something wrong with me?
Yeah, I was the same. I'm like, I finished it and I'm like, I feel like this doesn't deserve any more than 2, maybe 3 stars. And then I went to look at Goodreads and I was like, am I broken? Like, there are all these 5-star reviews talking about how great this book is. And I mean, the porn parts of it are fun, but it's just, I just don't understand.
What you need to do is go onto the Vaginal Fantasy forums, because that is a lot more reflective of what we've been saying.
Oh, thank God, because honestly, if the VF ladies get on there, on their official hangout, and they talk about how good it is, like they sometimes do with awful books, I'm going to scream and never trust their judgments again. Veronica will fall flat in my esteem of her, because honest to God, sometimes they do like these books. They cannot like this one. They cannot.
Okay, they can like it for what it is, which is a poorly plot-driven porn book.
As long as they discuss the fact that that's exactly what it is, and they don't necessarily have to go into all of the nitty-gritty stuff of why it's poor, as long as they acknowledge the fact that it is misogynistic. They don't have to use those words.
I'm pretty sure that that at least one of them is going to bring up that. I can't imagine those poor ladies that none of them will pick up on how badly misogynistic it is. But
Yeah.
you know, I'm looking forward to watching the Hangout to see what they have to say about it.
The Hangout's next week, isn't it? Or is it?
Probably. It was
Tomorrow.
the beginning of next month. I remembered.
Yeah, I think it's next week. Listen to this.
Yeah.
But I have to say, once I read the excerpt, I was hooked. Kylie Scott is an author who has an excellent voice. Her prose is clean, witty, and grips you from page one and never lets go. I'm like, no, none of that. None.
Yeah, see, that sounds like a paid-for review to me, but maybe I'm a bit cynical. But it sounds like...
Yeah, that doesn't sound like...
Like, if I was to write a generic review about somebody without having ever read anything, it would probably be, you know, if someone said, write a 5-star review for a book without ever having read it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Am I
I don't know. It's possible. I can't. It doesn't look like one of those. It's not one of those ones that's filled with gifs and things, and it's not that elaborately written that I would consider it one of those ones that is posted from a blog. You know, sometimes they post them, double post it in their blog, and that it's not that elaborately written that I feel that way. But at the same time, they're clearly a high level user. Oh, she's an author who writes erotic romance. She's probably writing it for a friend.
We're not allowed to read her books either now.
Nope. Never touching her books.
Or maybe they went, you write a good review for me and I'll write a good review for you.
Yeah. And they've ended up at the top of the list, and I stupidly just went, oh, it sounds good.
Well, see, this person gave it 4 stars, but this kind of still sums it up like a smutty version of The Walking Dead where Rick and Daryl share a girlfriend. I don't mean it's fanfic, I just mean if you watch or read The Walking Dead but wish there was more sex in it, this book is for you. And I was like, yeah, okay, except for the fact that it's really sexist. And I didn't think The Walking Dead was like that. Like, I mean, it's not, I wouldn't call it, you know, completely, you know, feminist or anything, but it's not as sexist as this was.
Yeah.
And even the first two-star review that I come across, I'm like, okay, this is going to be one that's going to start talking about some of the things that piss me off. And the second paragraph, she's like, what I absolutely adored about this book was Daniel. He's such an amazing guy. I love how he called Allie his girl. Swoon.
Yeah. Okay.
What? This is why you write for.
This is why Twilight is poo on paper, and it's a billion-dollar industry, because people, like girls, love to feel like, oh, he loves me and he's watching me while I sleep, and it's not creepy at all. But it's really creepy. And
it's really creepy.
Twilight is poo on paper, and somehow it's been printed into money.
And but when I read Twilight, I found it really hard to put down, and even though the feminist part of me was going no, 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 I was still like, I need to find out what happens next. And it was, I was, you know, wanting to keep reading. Because this, I was just like, okay, I'm happy to stop reading now.
But I think, to be fair, well, at least to myself, because I have a similar reaction. Like, I look on Twilight now and I'm like, eh. But at the time I read it and I was like, I wasn't obsessed the way a lot of people were, but it was fine. There wasn't, I enjoyed it well enough. But that was also, I think, about 8 years ago, and I'm like, yeah, I've changed a lot in the last 8 years as a reader, especially since in the last, I would say, 3 years since we've been doing book clubs and stuff. I'm much more critical.
Me too. Actually, I was wondering about that, whether I think I am a bit more critical of books that I know we're going to talk about, because when I'm reading it, I'm thinking about, okay, what am I going to talk about when we do the hangout? Whereas if I'm just reading something myself and nobody else is reading it, I'm usually not thinking about it critically, in that I'm not thinking about, you know, what should I need to say about it, I'm just reading it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, I agree. I will, like, I don't read much of this sort of book anymore by myself. It tends to be only if it's a VF pick or something along those lines. But I do reread some of the ones that I used to read, and I don't stumble over reading them. I just read them because I've read them before, I already know the story, and while I can still sort of tick in my head and see that the things are there, I don't think about them that hard because I'm reading it because I don't want to think. So,
Yeah.
but I find
feel
that I
like-
can't pick up new ones very easily.
I feel like I may not have been so judgmental about this book if I was reading it 10 years ago.
Mm.
Yeah.
I feel like part of the reason I find it so irksome is I would be about Ali's age. Like, if there was a zombie apocalypse, I could very easily be her. Because
Yeah.
I would be the type of person that would just hide out in my house. I would not
Yeah.
venture, I'm not the
Yeah.
kind of person that would be all gung-ho and try and attack zombies. Like,
Yeah.
when I play any sort of game where I can play either a stealth character or I can get up in people's faces, I will stealth around like a motherfucker. You will never
Yeah.
see me. And,
Yeah, that would be me too.
yeah. And I'm just like, why are you letting this guy just push you around into where the zombies are? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I understand that staying in the roof of the house that you're in isn't safe and not intelligent. Like, yes, getting you down and getting you clean, good. They're good steps. But being like, we need to go out into the country so that you're safe.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing is too is he was all very good about being safe from the zombies, reasonably, but I felt like he didn't take much care of other humans that were around, did you, mate?
I'm like, I feel like you trust humans too much, and humans are shitheads in general. Like,
Yeah.
like zombies, you know what they're going to do. They're going to attack you. They're going to try and eat you.
Mm.
Humans are very complicated creatures. You don't trust them unless you know them. And
Mm.
even then, maybe not. Like,
Mm.
Just the
I'm very
way that she had so much trust with him so quickly too. Like,
yeah,
I
felt,
know you didn't give her much choice, but at the same time, it's like you kind of gave in pretty easy too.
yeah, like you saw a girl get basically raped on her front lawn, and you just trusting this guy that like held you against your will.
Mm.
Yeah.
What happened to all of that inhibition that you had a few minutes ago?
Yeah.
Anyway, I am going to get a top up of my wine and grab my Kindle because I highlighted a few things and I can't remember what they are.
Get the wines. I wanted the alcohols. There's no alcohols to be had tonight.
Well, the first like 1-star review that I found on this book
Yeah.
is like decent, except that like it's decent, like as in she's got a lot of the points that we have. Like the love interest was so forced,
Mm.
terrible writing, like just. But she seemed to not enjoy. Oh, she doesn't read Why would you read this book if you don't read eroticas? Like, you can tell by looking at the front cover of the book that it's going
It's
to be a
erotica.
serious book.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, I don't read eroticas, and I'm like, why? Like, why
What are
would
you doing in this book?
Like, you can tell by looking at the front cover of this book that there's a like pair of leather pants and a naked female back. It's a sexy time book.
It even warns you in the description of the book. It says it's male, female, male. It's like you're pretty sure that's erotica when that happens. What the hell?
Oh, this was a zombie one, and I thought it would be more zombies. But
Ooh.
alas, I was wrong. I'm like, when is a porn book ever about the plot?
Well, I would actually question how many stories about zombies actually really have a whole heap of zombies in them. Zombies aren't actually that terrible. Like, to be fair, they give me nightmares. Like, when I do Zombie Run, they will give me nightmares. But, like, in actual fact, if they are the traditional style zombie,
Yeah.
the moving sluggishly, the deteriorating bodies, all of that sort of stuff, it's like, yeah, we're kind of clever. We can negotiate around that sort of shit, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, I understand that. I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Okay, I do it all the time.
I just.
I don't read enough
lost it.
zombie fiction to say, really.
Oh.
I mean, there might be heaps out there that have heaps of zombies in them, and it's just me thinking this.
Well, I mean, the zombies that are in Resident Evil are very, like, they're sort of more fast-moving zombies and less slow-moving, like, crawling zombies.
That makes more sense. It's scarier.
They're more scary because the monster is the zombie, because the zombie is moving. Like, the zombie's running around rather than just crawling.
Yeah. That makes sense. Well, that's what I mean, like the traditional zombie versus the, Twilight version of zombies. They've mixed it up a little bit to make them more intimidating, right?
And yeah, you got the right idea. Like, even reading, like, these reviews, one person thinks that Ali is 26, another one says she's 32. Like, I'm sure it says she's, like, early 30s somewhere in the book.
She's early 30s.
Yeah, like, there are obviously people who just did not, like, they're writing, like, these giant reviews, and I'm like, did you read the book thoroughly? If you're going to put that much effort into the review, like these aren't just a small chapter, like a small paragraph. This is like multiple paragraphs about how she didn't like the book and blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, if you didn't like the book and you were that sort of pedantic about it, like, make sure that you're writing all the right stuff in your review. Like, yeah, the book wasn't great. But
Flesh is well written, surprisingly funny, mostly due to hero Daniel's witty banter and snarky comments. What?
I know. I
don't know if we read the same book. Maybe there's two versions of the book. Maybe there's a book that has more porn and more plot that actually makes sense. And then there was this one that's on the Kindle. Maybe maybe the real book is different.
Maybe that's it.
Maybe. Well, my first two notes on Kindle, okay, note number 1, ill. Note number 2, ill. And this was in reference to, the first ill was when he says, "Are you finished? Are you going to be a good girl for me?"
Oh, God.
That was my first ill. My second ill, this was in chapter 1.
And didn't he say that after she had a panic attack too? Like, it was...
Yeah, when she was having a panic attack, when she calms down, he's like, "Are you going to be a good girl now?" And I'm like, ew. Yeah, that was my first ill. And then second ill was, let me see. Oh, the first time he said his girl. And that was before, this was when they've just met. So they've just met. He's grabbing hold of her to stop her from running away. He's calmed her down from the panic attack, and he says it didn't take his girl long to react. And so the first time they said his girl, I wrote ill, because I'm like, she's not your girl. You've only just met her. I don't even think you know her name yet. I don't think he knew her name yet in this part. He's calling her his girl.
He wouldn't have.
That's just...
Look, zombie apocalypses make you own women. Didn't you know? When there's a zombie apocalypse, your only worth will be if a man owns you. Maybe two.
You know what? This book would have been a lot better if her character had been a bit more like, what's the name of the Walking Dead girl? Michonne?
Oh, yeah.
Make her badass, zombie killing.
Yeah. Make her a badass. Like, make her the kind of person that can, like, do a roundhouse kick and kick a zombie's head off. Like, give her something. Don't make her this, like, meek little rabbit that rabbits about.
And she's kick-ass, and the guys are like, yeah, we want her. Totally sharing her.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm totally getting all the boys to the crowd.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
I would have liked the three-way thing better if she'd gone, no, I'm not just having one. I want two. Yeah, it wasn't. It was the guy that was like, no, you really should sleep with him because why would he hang around if you don't?
Yeah, and almost, was there any sort of attraction beforehand? No, she showed no sign of it.
Well, I kind of felt like she didn't, even if she had, it was kind of, well, she felt like she was in this relationship, this 2-day relationship, where she didn't, she was feeling like she was connecting to him and didn't really want to look to somebody else. She's just falling in love with this guy. Okay, if I'm going to accept the insta-love thing, she's falling in love with this guy. She's not really going to look at this other guy.
Which she didn't until he started raising it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another thing that I highlighted was, I love you like the sun loves the soil.
Oh, God.
Daniel. I highlighted it because I was like, that's so cheesy and it doesn't even make sense.
Like, ew, 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 ew.
Does the sun love the soil?
It kissed the soil, you know?
The guys that were chasing them, like the guys that first attacked Ali and Dan, I would have expected them to be bigger boners, bogans, and saying, like, I expected the C word at least once, because I have met bogans. I wouldn't have expected a conversation going down without the C word at least once. And there was none. No C word at all.
No.
They use the C word, but only during sex.
No, the bogans.
Yeah,
The bad guys. Yeah.
She had no problem using the C word as an author, but only during sex. She couldn't give the bogans.
I'm like, no, that's how bogans greet one another. Have you not been to somewhere that has bogans? That's how they greet one another. Hey, mate, hey, cunt. That's just how they.
There on the north side.
I suppose. But still, like.
I don't think she's been to Ipswich.
She lives on the north
side. She needs to go to Riverlink shopping centre for a while. She'll pick up some powder leg, which is
I'm just like, there is no way that no person in, like, no one used the word mate ever.
Oh, I thought there was one mate. Because I remember going, I thought it got more Australian towards the end. And I was kind of like, I wonder whether she's forgotten that she's supposed to be making it, because I really felt like at the beginning she was trying to make it sound American, and I felt like towards the end it got a little bit more Aussie, and that maybe she was slipping back into it, or I don't know. But I thought there was at least. I'm going to search and see if I can find it.
I'm searching. It's all good. No, there's several mates.
Oh, there is.
Oh wait, no, wait. I've got one where it's actually in a sentence.
Stupid Kindle is searching in all my books for the word mate.
Two, basically. One is when he's actually using it in a matey kind of way, and the other one is when he's talking about at bastards mates. So he's talking about some dudes. The other two, there's 4 mates. The other 2 are being used in a different context.
Yeah.
Like, at the very least, if you're going to write Australian, especially lots of douchey Australian dudes, there's got to be a few mates.
Also, she capitalised the word bastard, like, as in, she wrote at bastards mates, and, like, capitalised it like that was his name.
Yeah.
Like, if you're just referring to someone as a bastard, you wouldn't capitalise it like that. Like,
there was some weird things in it. And look, to be fair, when it comes to writing the characters, she was writing porn. She didn't care much about getting the characters accurate.
I know. It irked me.
Yeah, I know. It was irkable. Especially, I think it's worse for you guys because you know the area.
Yeah, like, okay, so they went out on a scavenging trip, and Ali got stuck in a basement, which, what Australian place has a basement?
Yes!
She, like, that dude abandoned her, and she was in a basement, and then she had to climb up on a roof, and was like, there's no way if you were in a, like, building where you were underground, how you could get, like, on top of a roof without, like, stairs. Like, she seemed to, like, climb up on the outside like a spider monkey.
But except for we figured that out when they found her, because I was like, how did you get up there? I don't quite understand. That was one of the bits where I was like, I lost you. How did you get to the roof? When did you get to the roof? It was only when they came back and found her, then she was climbing down it. I was like, oh, she must have climbed.
She was saying something about laying on the warm roof or something,
yes.
I'm sure.
That was the only thing.
She burst blistered.
Yeah. I did think that was kind of realistic though. Like if you climbed onto a tin roof in Queensland in summer, you would be burned. Like you would get blisters of bad enough for blisters because it would be freaking hot.
Yes, that was good.
But you'd probably be so hot that you wouldn't be able to stay up there though. You would just get blisters and it would be burning through your skin, through your clothes, because you don't have like a t-shirt and shorts or whatever.
Just a question of plot point. Why did that dude leave her there in the first place? I understand that later they came and got her because their girlfriend had been turned and they wanted to turn her so that they would keep, so that the guys would protect her and then they would have the protection.
I thought the girlfriend was already turned.
But then why leave her out there? Then why just kill her?
No, they wanted her to stay out there and be turned. And when the boys came back in the morning, for her to already be a zombie.
That's true, but like, wouldn't she just be eaten? Like, to get turned, you have to kind of get bitten and then get away. Whereas they
didn't exactly
strike her. They would have eaten her.
Yeah, they didn't exactly strike me as the smartest tools in the shed.
True.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, we're keeping a zombie in the, like, lower area of a church, and now I'm going to walk really close to it, and oh my god, my girlfriend's eating my throat.
Yeah. Oh, not only that, like, I'm sorry, your girlfriend's a zombie. Exactly what benefit are you getting out of keeping her?
Yeah, like, it's not like you can have sex with her or anything now. Unless you want to have your throat eaten out the next time you have sex. Like, what are you getting out of this?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Doesn't make any sense. But, you know.
Boys are dumb. That's basically what I got out of this book. Boys are dumb. Throw rocks at them.
Pretty much. I must admit, reading this book made me feel like maybe I could survive an apocalypse.
Well, I feel like I'm not a rabbit, so maybe I could.
Yeah.
I don't rabbit so much.
Hey, I can shoot an arrow.
Me too. Although I don't have a bow anymore.
Oh, I do. Mine's in the room next door.
I've never tried, but I don't think I'd be very accurate.
But the only problem is I need different nibs, because the nibs I've got are just archery nibs. If you're going to actually shoot something like fleshy, you need the right kind of nibs. It ain't going to work with what I've got. It might do some damage, but it ain't going to kill anything.
There is an archery shop in Ipswich. I know where the archery shop in Ipswich is, so, you know, except it would have been totally raided, but, you know. It's like you could walk there from Blackstone easily. I know exactly where it is.
I know where my local archery place is, but I don't think they sell the hunting nibs, because that's what you need. You need the hunting nibs.
Hunting nibs, yeah. I've got these. And then more swords and other sharp objects.
I've got my Lord of the Rings sword that I got from Supernova, but it doesn't have an edge. You could probably I don't know how strong the metal on it is. Whether you can
I've got these, and these are really sharp. Depending on what kind of virus it is, they could work. I mean, the virus that only spreads through bite, I should be okay, but if it's the type of virus that spreads through contact with bodily fluids, like blood, then I'd be fucked. So
I must admit, hand-to-hand combat with something that might bite you and infect you is probably risky too.
Yeah, running away is a good thing.
It would more be for last chance defense rather than
this is true. Yeah.
Getting
It's okay. I'll have you by my side. You fight with that. I'll shoot from archery from the distance. I'm very good at melee.
My brother used to have a compound, like a crossbow, but he got stolen because he used to have guns when he was living out of Ripley, which, by the way, is like 5 minutes drive from Blackstone. He used to have a shotgun and a rifle. And then he lost his driver's license for drink driving, and so he lost his gun license. Can you imagine that happening in America? Like, sorry, you got your driver's license taken off you for drink driving, so we're going to deduct that if you're not responsible enough to drive a car, then you're not responsible enough to own a gun. Your guns are getting lost too. That's what happened to him.
That's what should happen.
He bought a crossbow instead because you needed a different license for that, and he couldn't get that. And then that got stolen. But interestingly, he lost his driver's license for 12 months. He lost his gun license for 5 years.
Good.
Yeah. I never knew about that until it happened to him. I didn't realise that was a thing, but I'm glad it is a thing.
Did you hear about the woman in Texas who killed her daughters?
No.
There's a woman in Texas. She posted on Facebook about how she should have the right to own guns repeatedly because she needed to be able to protect her family. She shot her 2 daughters.
By accident or on purpose?
On purpose, and then and then she got shot by the police because she shot her daughters.
See, anyone that says I'm a responsible gun owner, like over in the States, and then says, but I need it for protection, it can't be for both. If you have it for protection and you're a responsible gun owner, you have it away in a safe.
That's right.
Yeah.
Breaks into your house, you can't be like, wait a minute, bro, I'm just going to unlock my safe and get my gun out so that I can protect my family. Like,
Have you seen that thing with that Australian comedian who does that in America?
yeah.
Just so
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. You'll be sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy, and he nailed it. Hey, like either you've got the gun
totally.
on your bedside table, in which case your kid could get it and shoot themselves or shoot you, or like
Yeah.
I'm sure I read on that what's it called, the Darwin Awards, about a guy whose phone rang in the middle of the night and he picked up his gun and shot himself in the head by accident instead of picking up
Oh
his
my
phone.
God. Jesus, what an idiot.
There was a
In the
woman,
middle of night, you're half asleep. Oh, I meant to answer the phone, not shoot myself in the head.
well, there was a woman in Target who had a loaded gun in her handbag with the safety off, and her child was rummaging through her handbag trying to find something, and her child shot her. And I think her child was like 4 or 5. So imagine being a 4 or 5-year-old child and your mother dying because you shot her with something that's in her handbag.
It's just
Yep.
insane. It's insane. America is insane, honestly.
But we've got to keep our guns to protect ourselves from the drug dealers and the Mexicans.
Yep, and don't you know that the criminals can get the drugs, can get the guns, and, you know, it's like, well, yeah, but it would be harder for them to get them if they weren't just everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot more expensive. Like, they were talking about the AR-15 or whatever it is, that gun that was used in the most recent shootings and a whole bunch of other mass shootings.
Yeah.
If you go into a gun store, it costs anywhere from $650 to $1,000 and takes about half an hour to get.
Oh,
On the
God.
black market, it costs $35,000, and then you have to buy ammo. Like,
There's a big difference there.
if you're a low-level criminal, you can't afford to buy a gun like that.
And
from
that's
the
not an
market.
impulse buy
How
for
is
most
a gun
people
like
either.
That kind of gun, like, I mean, you can get guns in Australia. You can get a
Yeah.
handgun, you can get a shotgun. Why do you need an assault rifle? That's not something you keep in your house for protection. Like,
No.
what?
Yeah, what are you protecting yourself from? An army? Like,
Yeah.
They actually
And then-
genuinely think they are, though.
that's
Yeah.
the really weird
So
part.
they to stop the government from going crazy, and it's like, sorry, if the government decided they wanted to take over, do something, they've got like helicopters and
Drones.
tanks and drones and like a bunch of shit that you don't have, and having a gun isn't going to help you.
Not
Most
much.
people
Nope.
that have a gun aren't trained to use it better than just shoot it. Like, a person in the army could shoot you once directly in the heart. Without a lot of training, you're not likely to be able to do that.
No.
So a lot of these people that go to gun ranges and train themselves.
I know. And I mean, the other argument is, well, oh, look at, I think it's Switzerland, everyone owns a gun. It's like, yes, because everyone in that country has to join the army. And when they join the army, they're given a gun. And then that gun is their gun to protect the country should they ever be brought back into the army. And that is the only reason everyone owns a gun. They don't own a gun because we're protecting ourselves. They own a gun because it is their legal requirement as someone who has been in the army to own that gun. And they know how to use it because they were in the army. They were trained how to use it.
The only thing that I do agree on with America is that gun control probably would not work there because they are nuts. Because if they tried to bring in gun control in the way that they did here, like that comedian guy said, here we were like, oh, yep, makes sense. We'll take our guns, 'cause that seems like a reasonable suggestion. But the Americans would have a riot. They would have, like, if the government tried to take away guns from Americans, they would, like, have some kind of riot or a civil war or something,
They're
because they're
writing.
completely insane.
Yeah, they're writing about thinking about taking away one type of gun.
Mm.
Their government is talking about only like stopping people from having automatic assault rifles. That's it. Those style of weapons.
Didn't they just try and pass a bill about having a more thorough background check so that people who are on the terrorist watch list and people with mental health issues can't get guns? And it did not pass. That bill did not pass.
No, it didn't pass.
And all they were trying to do was stop people on terrorist watch lists and people with known mental health issues. Like
Yeah. Most basic levels of protection, and they won't even allow that. But even worse than that, the CDC in the US, so they actually can't study gun violence.
Where was I with? Well, I heard about this very recently. Was it Stephen Colbert or something like that?
Probably.
I think it was on John Oliver.
John Oliver, yeah.
Last week tonight.
Might have been. Because it was something I was watching like 2 nights ago where they were talking about this, and I didn't know much about it, about this thing that basically, like something to do with their funding and how it was linked with their funding, whereas they basically cannot study gun violence at all.
No, they're not.
They
so
were allowed
basically,
to for 2 years, I think, in like 2013 and 2014. I think there were 2 years they were allowed to study. Now they're not allowed to anymore again.
I think that, and a lot of the time when you're looking at when they start having debates, they keep referring to overseas, and I think that's because that's all they've got to refer to, because there are no studies. There's nothing.
Well, I think that's pretty obvious that the NRA knows what the studies will show, and they don't want it to. So let's not have the studies.
It's like, can you guys not see big tobacco in all of this? Like, seriously? Like, the whole thing just feels exactly the way big tobacco would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is, if Americans didn't care when 30 to 50 odd children were shot and killed in a school, they're not going to care about 100 gay people that were shot in a gay nightclub. Like, they're just not.
No,
like, if they don't care about their own children, they're not going to care about someone that they're not even giving equal right to in a lot of states.
This is true.
Well,
This is true.
yeah. But
This has just been a really anger-filled talk tonight.
Yeah.
Like, the book just makes me
I think
so
that's why I'm
angry.
watching this book. This book makes me very happy, and I'm like, I just touched the book. It makes me happy.
I can't see which book is that.
Oh, I got a hardcover copy of The Goblin Emperor.
Oh, you've been looking for that for a while.
I paid a lot of money for this. But it's like, I think there was only, for online I could only find 3 copies now, 2 probably now, of the hardcover book, and I'd actually given up because they were like over $100, and I was like, I can't afford that, that's ridiculous. This one cost me $60.
Oh, well, that's not too bad, because, a normal hardcover, you thought was sort of $40 to $50 you're looking at. So
yeah, and when there's only 3 left in the world that are new, and that's the difference, right? There were second-hand ones that were available, but this one is brand new.
Yeah, and if you're going to get a hardcover so that it looks nice on your shelf, you don't really want something second-hand when you don't know what condition it's going to be in.
Well, it's still not in perfect condition. It's obviously been on the shelf for a while. It's got some issues on the corners and things like that, and I think it's one of those ones where, when they discontinued, like, they don't give the money to the authors anymore when they sell it. I think they do that black mark when they do that. So
they do.
Yeah. Luckily, I've got a second copy upstairs, so because I bought a paperback a year ago because I was like upset I couldn't buy a hardback one. So I've got 2 copies now. It's lovely. Sorry. I love it.
Yeah. I feel like the book the sex wasn't good enough to make up for the chauvinisticness and the just grossness of the characters in some areas, and
and I think that's why I was talking to Matt about this. What were we watching? I can't remember. Oh, it was one of those he subscribes to that Watch Mojo YouTube channel where they do lots of top 10 lists.
Oh yeah, I know the one.
And it was like it was the top 10 sexiest male characters in Game of Thrones. And
Okay.
there was some of them that I was like, ew, no, no. And I said, and Matt was like, yeah, but they're not talking about, you know, like, do you like the character's personality? They're just talking about how they look. And I said, I can't separate that.
No.
If I
So who
find
did
that their
they-
personality, like Ramsay Bolton was on this top 10 list of
Ew.
top characters,
Look,
and I was like, no, he is disgusting. And I don't care what
he's
the
not that
actor looks like.
attractive. Like,
No, I didn't think he was either, but I'm like, even if he was, I couldn't see it because his character is so horrible that I kept, like, and I'm like that a lot. Like, I find it very difficult to find a character attractive if I don't like them. It doesn't matter how hot they look. If I find their personality I don't like, then I can't kind of enjoy watching them and be going, you know, I really like this character. And the same with the book. If I don't like the character's personality, doesn't matter how hot you describe them as, I'm still not going to find them attractive.
And I think the reverse is true too for me. Like, if someone is not what would traditionally be called sexy, but I really enjoy the character, I'll probably start finding them sexy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's demisexual, by the way.
Is what?
Demisexual means that your interest in finding somebody sexually appealing is tied to their personality. You have to know the person, basically.
I did not know that had a name, but yes, that's me. That's me completely.
I call myself pansexual most of the time because it's better known, but I'm technically demisexual.
That makes a whole lot of sense.
I can find someone attractive without knowing their personality, but I couldn't find myself sexually attracted to someone without knowing their personality, and I definitely couldn't be in a sexual relationship with someone without enjoying their personality as well as their looks.
I can look at a picture of someone that I don't know anything about their personality and say, yes, that person is attractive. Yeah. But if I know of their personality and find their personality is, I don't like their personality, I find them not attractive to look at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. But yeah, like, I would not have thought Ramsay Bolton would be on any sexy list ever.
No, he was like, he was fairly high on the list too, and I was like, no.
Just even him as an actor, like, excluding his character, like, I would not be like, yeah, he's my top 10 of actors that I think are sexy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Just excluding his character, because his character just does make him. But
yeah,
like, I could not. Just in general, like, he's not ugly, but he would not be on my top 10 list of attractive people especially in Game of Thrones. I can think of 10 people off the top of my head that would be in front of him.
That was really loud.
Sorry.
No, that was me. I pressed the link and it started playing and it was like, wah!
It's like when you open the YouTube video in the middle of these.
I can't remember who else was on the list, but you can watch it later, and it will tell you who the ones were, for those of you who watch Game of Thrones.
I think I'll give it a skip. Oh, have I lost you?
No,
I'm here. Sorry, I got
sorry. I was
that's
opening
okay.
a tab so I could look at it later, because I want to see who's on the top 10 list.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, don't go there, Melanie, don't go there. It's not going to be good.
The
know.
number one is not who I would have put as number one, but...
Who's number one? I'm about to go look at it anyway, so...
Jaime Lannister is number one.
Oh, see, that doesn't surprise me at all. Not because I think he's sexy, but because I think everybody friggin' else thinks he's sexy.
But
I'm like...
he's a great example where I'm like, I can objectively see that he's an attractive man, but because of his character, I don't find him attractive.
I don't even find him objectively attractive, so I'm lost.
My number one would probably be either Jon Snow or Khal Drogo. And they're very different people. But
that's who I was tossing up between. And I think Khal Drogo is he's on the list, but he's pretty low down on the list. And I think Jon Snow was number 3, maybe? But I was like, yeah, Jon Snow I would have been putting towards the top. But then I was watching it going, I'm realizing how little I actually find people in the show attractive.
Well, I was just going to say,
yeah,
actually, maybe that's one of the reasons I didn't enjoy it. I didn't find anyone attractive in the show.
And really, I only like Khal Drogo because I like Ronan from Atlantis.
See, I find more of the ladies attractive than the men attractive in this show.
Yeah.
Definitely. I agree on that one.
There is, if you Google it, there is a top 10 hottest women in Game of Thrones list too, but I haven't watched that one.
Yeah, I don't think it would go the way I'd want it to, so I think that would just disappoint me.
I feel like that top 10 list would not have, like, the people I would pick.
Mm.
I don't know.
Oh, Naomi, by the way, have you ever read Check Please, the comic online?
Yes. I'm up to date with it.
Did you see the update today? It was just so good.
Oh, there's a new one today?
Today, yes. There's been 3 new ones over the last week.
Yeah, I saw the one yesterday. I didn't know there was a new one today.
He always does 3 within the week.
Yeah, but I haven't seen today's one yet. I haven't looked.
You haven't even look at it because it's really good after the last one.
So this is something I need to start reading, is it?
It's a really cute
It's
online
so
comic.
cute. It's an online comic about a university or college in America ice hockey team, and the main character bakes pies and is gay and he's wonderful.
Okay, well that sounds good. I need another online comic. They don't update quick enough for me.
No, and this one's definitely this one's a really slow one, but oh my god, they're really good. It's really, really good.
I've been reading one called Leftover Soup that I quite like.
Oh yeah. What's that one about?
It's kind of like relationships and stuff, and
That's
starts
what
out
this
with
one's
this
like,
with this guy that moves in with this girl and sort of goes from there. But it's kind of hard to tell you without giving plot lines away and stuff.
Fair enough.
But yeah, there's lots of interesting, relationships and stuff and how they're shown. Like one of the characters is in a 4-way relationship.
Yeah.
And it's not like just like the 4 of them live together, and it's all 4 of them, are consider each other boyfriend and girlfriend. With it, like she says, she's got 2 boyfriends and a girlfriend, kind of thing.
Okay.
And yeah,
I found it. I found it. I'll read it. So, wasn't it good?
I know, I just read it. It's so cute.
That ending. The stickers on the fridge.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't be that excited about it, but I am.
It's so good. Did you see the couch?
It's so cute.
It's so cute.
I just love that. How many stitches did you get? Not that many. Jack Zimmerman.
And oh, come on, Jack with the shirt. Sorry. Just had to squeal a bit there. I'm glad I've got someone to squee with now because nobody else I know reads it. So
No, it's amazing. I may or may not read a lot of Check Please. I read a lot of Check Please fan fiction on the weekend. A lot.
Oh, are you reading? Oh, wait, I've got to check if you're reading this one because it's like the best.
I don't read works in progress anymore because they make me sad.
Okay, well, this one's actually at a happy point if you want to start with it because it's sort of getting to the roundup point, and she's one of those ones who finishes things.
Oh, she's the kind of person that finishes things, because I started reading this really amazing fan fiction once that was Harry Draco, and it was at this beautiful point, and then she just stopped writing, and I cried.
I've got one of those. I'm still like years later waiting and hoping sort of thing. Now, this
hoping
is Emma
that
Grant.
she decides to upgrade.
Yeah, no, this is Emma Grant. Emma Grant finishes things.
Okay, I trust.
And it's very close to the end. Like we're only about where are we at? Sorry, just let me check the chapter numbers. We are at chapter 25, and she's only doing 32 chapters.
Okay. So we're very close to the end. I'm okay with that. But yes, I have a problem with reading works in progress.
Yeah, no, I know the feeling. I actually started this one because I thought she was finished or getting close to finish, and then she extended it. But she's definitely rounding it out now, you can tell. Just a second, I'll get the link for you because you need to read this one. Or at least bookmark it until it's done.
I'm happy to start reading something if it's a known writer that will finish her work.
She's definitely finishing it. She is good. She's a good girl. She's very, very good. Must read this one. Oh my God, I cried in this one.
Wait, this is a check please one, right?
Yeah, check please.
Okay.
She started writing it, though, before some of the important things that happened recently happened. So be aware the timeline's different to what's actually happening now.
Okay. That's fine. I'm used to fanfic that has changed storylines. That's fine.
Yeah. But she does it really well. So well that sometimes I have to remind myself that's not actually canon.
It's not canon? Yeah, I have that problem with some Harry Potter fanfics that I've read, where I'm like, wait, what? No, that's not what happened in the actual book, Naomi. You need to take a step back.
The other good thing about Emma Grant is her sexy times are good sexy times. I highly recommend her Sherlock ones as well.
Ooh, Sherlock.
Yeah, so she does John Locke very, very well. If you're looking
for a rabbit hole here, this is not good for me.
If you're like, I like Emma Grant and I need some John Locke, I'll link you to the best one there is.
Sorry, I have the top 10 hottest men in Game of Thrones, and Peter Baelish is number 9, and just flashed up on my screen. I'm like,
this is another thing that I was like, ew no.
Like, and he's not even just objectively attractive. Like, I mean,
no, I was thinking maybe there's something wrong with me because
maybe everyone that voted for this is like over 50.
I don't think it's a vote thing. I think they just choose on this Watch
Mojo. They just do their
maybe she's over 50.
Choose things, but I'm like, no, but see, older guys, like, okay, the guy, what's his name? Friend Zone. What's his name?
Dario Naharis? Or the other
guy?
No.
The guy that, like, I should know his name. I've read all the books, but, you know, do you think I can think of it?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, the guy that's hanging around with Daenerys who's in love with her, that she's like, no, you're an old guy and why would I be interested in you? I can see him as being attractive. Jorah? Yeah. I can totally see him as being attractive, even though he's, like, you know, older than me and stuff. I kind of get his thing. But Peter Baelish? No, he's just greasy and...
He's greasy and creepy. He looks greasy too.
Yeah. He's what's the name of that character in Circle of Friends? He's him. I can't think of it. Doesn't matter anyway. You probably.
You know what? It's been a long time since I saw
Anyway.
that. Yeah, there was a few on that list that I was like, no. Yeah, but Ramsay Bolton was the worst. I'm like, no.
Definitely no. Like,
I would probably put Sam higher than most of the people you're mentioning.
Yeah. Oh, he wasn't on them.
Like, okay, Moriarty. Like, he's evil as all fuck, but he's still very sexy.
Definitely, he's sexy as shit.
That's true. I mean, there are some characters that I'm like are evil, but they have got a certain something that makes them attractive.
They've got redeeming characteristics that make them look attractive, like the fact that they're sexy.
I was gonna say, I think for me, well, at least for me, for Moriarty, it's not a redeeming characteristic, and it's not that he's inherently sexy or something. I think it's that he just does the part so goddamn well.
I think a good voice goes a long way too.
True.
He sells the sexiness though, he is very confident in himself.
Yeah. Although I did not enjoy him as much in the Abominable Bride so much. Maybe because he really upped the crazy in that one.
Yeah. There was a lot of crazy in the Abominable Bride.
True.
Like, a lot.
Like, what was real and what was not? My God.
I feel like we've gone a very long way away from
Topic?
Well,
topic.
how much can we say? We did talk quite a while about the book,
We
and
did, and we stayed on
we had
topic.
quite a lot of things to talk about.
Hmm.
But
And would it be one of our hangouts if we stayed on topic? In fact, when we did the movie last week, I was like, holy shit, we were on topic quite a lot for that.
I think it helped that Matt keep us on topic.
He was very, what are you saying? I don't keep you on topic enough there, Naomi?
No, I'm very happy with the amount that we're kept on topic.
No, I think Sarah was very on topic too, though, so she had a lot to say about the movie, which is good. Well, it is 10 o'clock. I think it's time for bed. I have to work tomorrow.
That's okay. I'm going to continue watching this top 10 of Game of Thrones dudes and keep going, ew, ew.
It's still
Jon
going.
Snow, I could get Jon Snow, and I'm trying to think. There was not really anyone else on that list that I was like, okay, I kind of.
Oberyn, I kind of get. Oberyn Martell.
Yeah, he's not really my type, but I could kind of see why.
I can see how people would see him as attractive. Like, I don't
Some of
find
the
him
others,
attractive,
I'm just
but
like, yeah, I just don't get it. I'm like, sometimes I think, is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with me?
I don't think there's something wrong with you. I just think that people have very varied tastes.
I think the other thing too is that there's not a lot of good choice in Game of Thrones.
Mm.
Everyone's very dirty in Game of Thrones. If that's the best
one way to put it.
Like,
If we're going to talk about attractive male characters in current TV shows, then it's not Game of Thrones that I'll be looking at. It'd be Outlander, because Jamie in Outlander, yes, please.
Hello.
okay, Jon Snow is number 4.
4. That's what I don't get. Like, how was he down to 4? Who's in front of him again? I know that Jamie Lannister, and I kind of did go, yeah, I can see him as being conventionally attractive, but he just doesn't.
I would have put Jon Snow as second, though, at least. I mean,
Yeah,
sorry,
I
when I say that, I think other people would have done it.
What's his name? Robb Stark is number 3.
Yeah, he's not. I did not like that. Even though he was a good character, like he's just. I don't know. I never
Jon Snow
found him
ahead of
attractive.
him.
I didn't find Robb
Khal
Stark
Drogo is
attractive.
number
He
2.
seemed-
I do
Yeah,
understand
see, I get
that.
that.
Yeah.
I can get that.
I can
Although
get that.
I would rather, if I'm gonna, if it's really for him, I like the guy from Atlantis, from Stargate Atlantis, much better. Because he's not just, he's the same guy, and he's very attractive, but his character is a lot nicer, and I like him a lot.
Oh,
Did you guys watch Stargate Atlantis?
no, Stargate the movie, that's it.
I'll show you what he looks like in Stargate. I reckon he's hotter in Stargate than he's in Game of Thrones.
So we went to see Axis of Awesome the other night, on the weekend, and they performed Rage of Thrones. It was awesome!
Oh, okay. Ramsay Bolton is an honourable mention, and Jamie Lannister is number 1. Yeah, he's a...
Okay, I remembered seeing him on the list and going, no, and I'm glad it's only
honourable mention. I mean, why would you bother? He's like nowhere near as attractive as anyone else on this list. So
They always do honourable mentions on those lists, and so they just, who else were they going to throw in, I suppose?
well, their other honourable mention was Ned Stark.
Yeah, see, I can see that. Maybe I'm getting old and I'm finding the older guys more attractive. Maybe that's what my problem is. I'm just getting too old.
No,
Like, no, I can see that. I can see that he would be
Ramsay
attractive.
Bolton is just not attractive. Like, I can see how Ned Stark is attractive, and I can also see how Jon Snow is attractive, and they're two very different ends of the spectrum. I don't get Ramsay Bolton at all, and I don't really get Jamie Lannister. He kind of just looks like a turd of a person.
Oh, somebody in the comments said he looks like Prince Charming from the Shrek movie.
From Shrek.
And I was like, yes, he looks exactly like him.
With the
So I had to look up Ramsay Bolton.
hair.
He's got a really funny nose.
Yeah, he's weird looking. I think he's a bit weird looking. I
Yeah,
just put a
he is.
picture of Ronan from Atlantis, which is Khal Drogo.
Oh, it
And-
is too.
Yeah, I like him as that character better than he is because he's not rapey, and basically that's the main reason. Rather than-
Yeah, Khal Drogo is. They did make him very.
and I
rapey
reckon he's
in the
got
show.
that exact same tattoo in both shows, so I reckon it must be his real tattoo.
I think it is because it was in his pictures for Aquaman as well.
So that must be his actual tattoo, and they've just gone, yep, we'll just let you have that as, you know, your character because really
Oh, hey,
the
I can
characters
see
that he
Jill
played. Oh
Is
yeah,
it
yeah,
something-
she's in Atlantis too.
yeah.
Is it something to do with perhaps the age thing that so many of the characters in Game of Thrones seem to have those not filled out scraggly beards? And is it because they're supposed to be young and that's why I find it unappealing because I'm older?
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, in the books they're all so young, like, and maybe that was part of the problem is because I read the books, and you know, like, and I find it hard to find Robb Stark attractive because I read the books before I watched it, and he's like 13. So I had all this time of imagining him as a 13-year-old, and then when you watch it as a show, okay, obviously he's not 13, but it's kind of hard for me to see him as anything other than like a teenager because
Yeah. Like Daenerys, who's supposed to
Yes.
be like 13, 14 years old. It's like you
Yeah.
couldn't really have a 13 or 14-year-old actress playing someone that's naked a lot of the time, especially in
No.
the first few seasons. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
and I feel like that's why they just aged everyone up. Like, they just generally just aged everyone up because I feel like in a world that was like Game of Thrones, people, when they get to the age that sort of get to that older sort of age group that like Littlefinger and that sort of thing are, a lot of them would start dying out from just disease. Like, they wouldn't be dying through war. They would be dying due to diseases from having sex or
Mhm.
something like, you know, like they wouldn't be dying for like that sort of period of time. You died younger.
Well, all the women would be dead from childbirth.
Yeah, like you didn't die in your late 50s. Like that just
God,
wasn't.
you wouldn't even have to go back to this, like it's sort of set in a medieval-ish kind of time. Like I've been doing my family history. Like it was my great-great-grandmother. She had like 14 kids and died in childbirth in her 40s with having twins. And that was pretty common back then. And that wasn't that long ago. That's only a couple of generations ago.
Yeah. But that's why watching like Call the Midwife is just so like eye-opening.
Yeah. I watched the first 3 seasons, and I haven't watched the rest because that's what's on Netflix. But I watched that just after I'd had Xander, and I'm like bawling my eyes out in every episode, like sobbing in every episode, going, I should not be watching this while I'm breastfeeding my baby. It's like emotional.
It's not a good combo,
overload.
no. But I always remember that one with the lady who was in like her 40s and she doesn't speak any English and she's having another baby and it comes premature and she's got like all of these kids. It's ridiculous.
Mm.
I'm like, oh God, please bring in the contraception.
Well, I was reading in those Outlander books, like I've read like all the Outlander books, and they're talking about like, I forget which one, it was several books in, but they're talking about how that was part of your, you know, like how you have a hope chest when you get married, where you have like things for your house and you put away, you know, tablecloths and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Well, you would have your death shroud in your hope chest, because, you know, it's pretty likely that you would die when you have your first baby. So, like, this woman in this book was, like, doing this embroidered death shroud to put in her, you know, what do they call it? A trousseau that you take when you get married, and it's got all, like, your, you know, your lingerie that you're going to wear on your wedding night and blah, blah, blah. It's a part of your trousseau. Well, you would make as a engaged woman, you would make your death shroud to go as part of your trousseau. Because it was pretty likely that as soon as you got pregnant and had a baby that you were going to die.
Christ.
I mean, that's why having, like, Catelyn Stark having the amount of children she had and them being as old as they were and her still being alive was very unlikely for that sort of time period with the kind of medicine that they would have had. Like, other than the Red Woman that seems to have magic, like, there wasn't a great deal of magic in general in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like everyone has magic. There is some small bits of magic, like the Red Woman, the God of Many Faces, dragons. Like, there are some people who seem to have some sort of magic or trickery, but,
And, you know,
yeah.
there's maesters that seem to have some kind of medical knowledge. You know, like if the guy from what's his, you know, that maester was able to make like Franken mountain, you know, he's kind of got at least some medical knowledge.
Their main, like, painkiller is milk of the poppy. Like, it's
But
not
you have
exactly
to be-
like they're operating on high-tech medications there.
No, you'd have to be kind of noble to get the maester to come and look after you, though.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be turning up to look after every woman having a baby.
No. Anyway,
Yeah.
guys, I really do actually have to go to bed.
That's okay.
No,
Okay.
If you read that fanfic, make sure you message me with thoughts while you're reading.
Well,
I'm going to have to start reading this comic. Add it to my
Please
list.
do.
depending
Please do.
on what I work this week, because my ward was closed, so I don't know when I'm working. I don't know if I don't know.
Oh.
Ooh.
I know I'm still, like, they still have to give me hours because I'm permanent, but
Mm.
I don't know where I'm working and what I'm doing.
So where have you been working?
Oh, I'm at Greenslopes Hospital in I'm a ward secretary, but my specific ward is closed, so I don't know where I'm going to be
okay.
working within the hospital.
So you could still be at that hospital, but
Oh yeah.
Sure,
I'll still be
where.
in the hospital. I just don't know where in the hospital I'll be working.
Different ward of some kind or something.
Yeah. So I'll see what happens tomorrow. But if I don't have to go to work, I will read it all.
Yes. And message me. I'm going race. I'm doing go-kart racing on Formula One track tomorrow. So
Oh, really?
yeah, Phillip Island. They've got a replica of the track down there.
That's cool.
And so we're going, we're having, because we didn't have a Christmas party for work this year, so we're having Christmas in July party, and they've bought a pack where you get to race around it 9 times.
Wow. Okay, I'll tell Matt and he will be very jealous.
Excellent.
I could not
I will make
see
sure I
him
post
work,
photos.
but I'm sure that he will be. It is not my thing. I went go-karting once and I'm like, no, I'm too terrified of all the other go-karts and I'm too terrified to go fast and I'll just watch next time.
The problem is that it's very much like a boys' club. Like, there's only two girls, and I'm one of them. And Sally was like, "Yeah, let's do that," and I'm like, "Okay." So,
Yeah.
I think I would be a bit like that. I'd be like, okay, whatever you guys want to do. I'm just gonna I'll just you know just watch. I'll sit over here.
I don't know.
I'll
did that
race,
one at
I'll
once, and I
race.
just found like this thing doesn't have rear view mirror. This thing doesn't have side mirrors, and I was panicking that people were trying to overtake me, and I was in the wrong spot. Like I was like, go past me, but then I wasn't on the racing line, and so people were getting the shits with me because I didn't really know where the racing line was, and
what's a racing line? What's that mean?
yeah, see, like the racing line is the line that you should be taking around the racetrack. That's kind of like as you're coming into a corner. I know more now because I've been watching Formula One.
Right, yeah, because you go to the outside and then you cut across and then...
Yeah, well, and see, and I'm trying to keep out of people's way, and I didn't know at the time that, like, if you stick on the racing line, they have to go off the racing line to overtake you.
Yeah.
Then, you know, they know what you're doing, whereas I was like, I had no idea what I was doing. I was trying to keep to the left, but then you can't always keep to the left because sometimes that's too cut. I know I was not good at it. And I was like, yep, I did it once. I can say that I've done it, and now I will just watch for next time because it's not cheap.
No, see, I've done. It's not cheap. That's why I'm like, work's paid for it. Awesome. I've done it once and I was fine. I'm slightly competitive, so but I have to go into this knowing I'm not going to win because I can't stand going super fast and worried about crashing and stuff. So. But I'm competitive enough that I will drive it properly, and because Dad used to do rally car driving, so he taught me how to do corners and everything. So
Yeah. See,
I know the
didn't any of
basics
that.
to get by. I just know that I won't win it, and that's okay.
And that was my problem too. I was like, I felt so exposed because it's so close to the road, and there's like I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna die, but if I come off this thing, I'm gonna get some bad gravel rash, and it's scary. And I was just scared. I'm a chicken.
No, I take it fast enough that I feel like, oh yeah, but I'm racing myself more than anything else. I just want to improve my times. I'm not don't try and race the guys because no, I don't.
I like go-karting if I'm by myself, because then I know I can just use the track how I want to use it. I don't need to worry about someone racing past me or whatever.
Yeah, I think I would enjoy it a lot more if I was the only one on the track and there wasn't like, and even if I was, everybody I knew was on there, but because when I did it, there was me and Matt and 2 of our friends, and everyone else, like there was like probably 8 other go-karts on the track, were strangers, and that was what freaked me out, was because I didn't know who those people were and how they would be reacting. Whereas a work party probably would be better because you know everybody, and
there's 10 of us, so there's unlikely to be anyone else.
Yeah, no one's going to be an asshole to you. You know, they're just going to. I think I'd probably enjoy it more. It would be less intimidating. Because there was people I didn't know.
Yeah. No, my first time was like that. There was these guys who were obviously doing it all the time, and they knew what the fuck they were doing, and I was just like, you guys are intimidating. I'm going to drive properly, but I'm not even going to try and compete with you because you're just ridiculous. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
But, anyway, have fun.
Thank you.
Have fun. Have a good sleep.
And if you read Check Please, tell me your thoughts, Kirsten, because, I need to squeal with people.
Kitty is just so cute. I want to pinch cheeks. Just pinch them.
And every time I read it, I just want to bake pie so bad.
I keep seeing, like, fan art of, like, Biddy in heels. And I'm like, he's so cute.
Biddy's so cute. Please read Check Please, Kirsten.
Okay, I will. My other comics, I only bring out one every... Well, Leftover Soup is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Questionable Content is weekdays. But I'm like, it only takes me a little bit to read it. Now I want to read something.
Well, Check Please, pretty much she posts about 3. Oh, there's the link. Awesome. She posts about 3 every, I'd say, 6 weeks. But the 3 she posts are really in depth detail. So that's not just a page; it's multiple pages for each of those 3. So she stocks up, and I actually like that.
And also, I've got quite a bit of archive to go through, so it'll take me a while before I'm caught up, and so it won't be, it'll give me something to read for a while.
Yeah. We can squill together. Let's all squill together, Rat Check Please, because it's good.
And we're so close to being able to open our books. I'm so excited.
I haven't got one yet. But I haven't been to the mailbox since Friday, so.
Mine hasn't arrived. But
it's still wrapped. I'm good.
Matt sent ours off on, must have been Friday night. It was last week sometime. We both went, right, we're doing it now. And my person is not somebody that I see very often in our hangout.
Yeah, see, that's always an issue when you get someone that you don't really know.
Well, and this person had not updated their to-read list since, like, there was 3 new books from this year on their to-read list, and I thought, oh, that's fine, I'll just get one of those. But they were all ones that haven't come out yet. And then everything else on the list that was on her to-read list was from 2014, that she added in 2014.
So you don't know if they've read them.
What if you've read them in between adding it to that list and now? So I bought one from that list, and in a paperback because it wasn't that expensive, and I bought one that wasn't on her list at all, but going by the things that she picked, I thought what would be something she would enjoy, and I thought, well, that way hopefully, even if she's read the one that was on her list, the one that wasn't on her list she probably hasn't read, and hopefully she'll like, and yeah, so I did that.
I think that's a good way to go. That's what I do if they haven't updated as well. I'm just like, right, well, I will just pick something for you that I think you will like. Actually, I do that anyway. What am I saying?
And, worst comes to worst, it's one that she's read and she can re-gift it to someone, and it's not, it's her own upgrading more frequently.
In the end, the whole system is reliant on people actually keeping their Goodreads up to date. If they don't, then they risk getting books that they've that they've read.
That's
Or
why I
that they're
always
interested
make
in.
sure that it's up to, like, I get really active on Goodreads just before we're picking people, so I know that it's all up to date, so that whoever gets me can go and look at it and go, okay, this is what this person likes to read. And even if they don't get me something that's on that list, they have an idea
Yeah.
of what I like.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
you haven't read what they're picking for you too.
I
Yeah,
need
like-
to update my things that I own but haven't read yet list though. That's probably the one that I'm not been great at. But it's not that many, and most of the things that I own but haven't read are on Kindle. So if someone sent me a physical book of it, that would
You
just
wouldn't
be a
get to
bonus
upset.
anyway, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so this is probably the fourth time I'm trying
Okay,
to go to
sorry.
bed.
That's my fault. I keep talking.
It's all right, it's all good. All right, night guys. See you next time.
Bye. Bye.